Tokyo Xtreme Racer has a big issue that I called out in my original review of the game.
Story progression. The story plays out in stages, and what this does is limit all your upgrades and leveling at a certain point until you progress to the next stage, which forces you to really consider what car you're running and which upgrades that you choose. It sounds great in theory, but it does this too early in the stage. So what ends up happening is that your car is underpowered to race against a lot of rivals in the later part of the stage, while you accumulate money and skill points like crazy. So when you finally progress to the next stage, the difficulty jumps, so you just have to cash out everything. Then you repeat again until the next stage. And once you progress through that stage, there's not a difficulty increase, but you're loaded with all this money and skill points, then everything is unlocked for you to spend money and skill points. This is something I think needs to be looked at again, because it really removes incremental upgrading that you would get in other games that have leveling and skill trees. So I hope Genki hears his feedback and spreads out the progression.
I played the pre-early access version like a multitude of YouTubers on here, and the game we played was a bit different than the actual early access release. What we experienced was a game that had more progression in terms of car unlocks, but was still limited in progression. I had my complaints even then, but I thought it would get fixed later on with feedback, and eventually with the release of the full game. What actually happened was the progression got worse. Money you earn got reduced. The money thing, I don't mind, because it will keep you grinding until the full release and new stages. I do believe they could increase the amount just a bit to put it in the sweet spot, but if not, no biggie. Now limited even more on car unlocks, with about 60% of the cars in the game only available when you beat it. Car unlocks are gate kept by BP. So if you don't have enough BP or spent it on other skills to experiment with the game, you get penalized and locked out of the rest of the cars in the game, and have to start a whole new game if you want something else. I mentioned this in my review, but with the reduced amounts in which you accumulate things, this has made the issue worse.
Car unlocks also need to be tweaked, because as it stands currently, I've beaten every rival and I can no longer acquire skill points. I'm essentially locked out of unlocking new cars because I use my BP for other skills. Again, I feel like this should be possibly removed because you still have to spend money on the car to buy it. You just unlock the possibility of buying it. There's no option to respec points as well, and no multiple saves. So if you didn't do everything right on your first playthrough, you have to restart from the beginning.
This brings me to the main point of the video. Let me explain that I had no idea it was this bad until I got comments asking, how am I using the WRX against the boss rivals so early? And then a bunch of people were having issues with Shua and Melancholic Angel. I knew they weren't easy, but I could still beat them consistently. So I started a new save that wasn't attached to my pre-early access version, and that's when I noticed I could only buy the BRZ in the Subaru skill tree. Every other Subaru car was locked. Then when I got to the top two hardest rivals, Shua and Angel, I realized that the only viable car I could get was the RX-8. This was so much different from the version I originally played, because you could pick more than the RX-8 to race against these final cars. Because of that, it made sense why Melancholic Angel was so fast, because you had options to race her. This is part of the Tokyo Xtreme Racer experience. You have to rethink your strategy and setups to defeat these rivals. It's not always just driving skill. It uses a very similar philosophy to another game series I love, Armored Core. I won't go into the similarities, but overall, experimenting with different setups can prove to be a solution to challenging situations. Both games share this philosophy. That's why I don't agree with the most recent nerf to Angel. Alright, I'm not taking no punches. No punches. We going hard. Alright, yeah, she's already nerfed. She's definitely nerfed. That would have never happened. That would have never happened. Yeah, I already won. Like, pretty much. Yeah. They nerfed her hard. They should have just gave us more options to challenge her. And overall, this made my experience with the game a bit less enjoyable than my first playthrough. So here's my feedback to Genki. Please reduce the limitations on accessing cars. This wasn't like this in the pre-early access, and this change, in my opinion, has made the game less enjoyable. Please reevaluate how the systems already in place can make the game more enjoyable, instead of doing a balance change in terms of values like nerfing Melancholic Angel. Anyways, that's all I have to say as someone who experienced both the pre-early access, early access, and the Angel nerf versions of the game. I really do love this game, I really do, and I don't want to see it become wasted potential. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. This is Nesto, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.